My name is Daniel Foster. I'm 41, and for the longest time I thought I was the kind of man you never make a story about. I'm the steady one. The guy who puts the bins out on Tuesday night without a reminder, who knows the cat's medication schedule by heart, who keeps a spreadsheet for the kids' after-school activities because soccer overlaps with piano in October. Stability isn't glamorous, but it keeps a house from rattling apart. Jessica, 39, my wife, was the spark. In photos, she's the one laughing a half second before everyone else. She can walk into a room where the air feels like damp cardboard and make it smell like citrus and new paint. When we met, I mistook that for permanence. It took me years to learn that spark is something you have to shelter with your hands, or it leaps to whatever's nearest. We live on the east side of Portland in a Craftsman with a porch we kept promising to sand and restain. 2 kids, Ava 11, who reads under a blanket with a flashlight like it's a crime, and Noah 8, who believes Lego is a sport. I'm a civil engineer. I design things that bear loads, stormwater systems, pedestrian bridges, the invisible skeletons that hold neighborhoods together. Jessica was a brand strategist at a boutique agency downtown. She calls it selling stories, and I never had the heart to say that sometimes it sounded like selling air with adjectives. In our wedding vows, Jessica said she promised to choose curiosity over comfort. Everyone clapped because it sounded poetic. I promised to keep the lights on, literally and figuratively. Everyone laughed because I had changed a fuse 2 hours before the ceremony. In hindsight, I see how our promises were not complementary but parallel lines. The first hairline crack came 3 summers ago, just after Jessica convinced me we should sign up for a couples boxing class. "It'll be fun," she said, bouncing on the balls of her feet in the kitchen, hands in the air like she was already shadowboxing the flour canister. "We need something sweaty that isn't laundry." I went twice before my right shoulder. 30-year-old rotator cuff, never fully healed, reminded me I was not a man built for uppercuts. Jessica kept going without me. "You rest that dinosaur," she joked, kissing the spot where the clavicle sticks up. Her hand lingered, then slid away. She started bringing home acai bowls and the kind of protein shakes that taste like rain hitting hot asphalt. "Coach says 20 grams within 30 minutes, she would say, and I would nod. Like Coach was a name I knew. It still felt harmless then. Healthy, even. I mapped a floodplain. She shadowboxed the pantry door. Parallel lines. Year 2 of the boxing era. New phrases moved into our house and unpacked cartons in the entryway. "Co-working day," Jessica would announce, breezing past, keys jangling. Or client dinner, with the word client stretched like gum, clie-e-ont-n. She started to use the word rituals, my coffee ritual, my Sunday reset ritual. She bought a linen apron and sourdough starter and used them a handful of times before the jars turned gray in the back of the fridge like a time-lapse of neglect. I'm not oblivious. I am, however, the kind of man who gives the people he loves a mile of benefit of the doubt and then another mile because there's no traffic and the road looks clear. When Jessica came home late 10:40 p.m. on a Tuesday and said they went to that new place on Mississippi with the twinkle lights, I said, "Nice," and warmed her leftovers in the microwave while she took her makeup off. When she said she'd be working at a co-working space on Sandy, good light, real plants, not like the fake ones at our agency, I looked at her receipts when I balanced the budget and made a mental note that $22 for a day pass was, frankly, a steal. Here's what stress looks like in our house, I clean. That week, I reorganized the pantry and found 3 jars of cumin. I lined them up like nesting dolls on the counter and texted her, "Are we opening a taco truck?" She sent back 6 laughing emojis and a heart. I wanted to believe we were fine because she still sent hearts. Around then, small malfunctions started to feel like foreshadowing. The garage door opener stuttered on cold mornings like it was choking on frost. The old iPad, mounted on the kitchen wall to run the home lights and the grocery list, would occasionally flash the login screen of a different iCloud account for a split second and then correct itself, like a glitch in a heist movie. Once, the Subaru connected to a phone called Owen's iPhone instead of mine, and a baritone laugh filled the car for half a second before switching back. "Oh," Jessica said, waving a hand. "That's Coach. He was giving people rides after class. Bluetooth is cursed." I didn't ask why Coach was named Owen. I didn't ask why his voice sounded like a hardwood floor. I put it under random tech gremlins and moved on. There were other signs. The laundry told stories. I've always done most of the laundry because I don't mind it and because I like the feeling of folding a geometry I can solve. Jessica's sports bras started showing up with faint traces of glitter. The good kind, ultra-fine galaxy dust. Not the kids' craft supplies. Ava's glitter is clumpy and migrates like snow. This stuff held to the fabric like it had sworn an oath. I told myself gyms have weird lighting and maybe they had a promo night. I doubled the rinse cycle. The thing about dread is that it doesn't arrive like a thunderclap. It accumulates like lint in the trap, layer by layer, until the dryer is in danger of burning down. On a Saturday in October, Jessica said she was going to a branding intensive at her rented house in Selwood. It's one of those off-site thinky days, she said, breezy. Phone will be spotty, don't freak out. I wanted to say I didn't freak out because I am not a man who freaks out, but the words snagged on my tongue. We had planned to drive to Sauvie Island to pick pumpkins with the kids. Next weekend, she said, making an apology face, I have always found hard to refuse. We pivoted like mature parents do. I took the kids. I sent her a photo of Noah holding a pumpkin he could barely lift, his face red with the pride of it. The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. That night I fell asleep on the couch, waiting for the garage door to groan. I woke at 1017 a.m. to the rattle of keys and the scent of something citrus and expensive. Jessica was whisper tiptoeing, like someone performing the idea of stealth. I heard the softer whisper of fabric. A dress? Being slid off shoulders, the click of the bathroom light, the shower turning on. When she came to bed, my eyes were closed. I felt damp hair against my arm and a stray grain of sand, or glitter, against my wrist. Sunday morning, we made pancakes because that is what our house does when we are trying to be normal. Halfway through, Ava said, "Mom, your neck is bruised." Jessica dropped the spatula. It slapped batter on the stove like paint. She turned to the hallway mirror and touched the shadowy bloom at the base of her throat with 2 fingertips, then laughed. "Boxing," she said. "We're practicing clinch work." She kept her face controlled. I kept mine neutral. The kids went back to their plates like we'd bumped over a pothole and kept driving. On Monday, my phone buzzed at 3011 p.m. while I was redlining a set of culvert plans. Unknown number. The text contained one photo, the back of our Subaru parked outside a boutique hotel near the river. Jessica's hand, unmistakable because of the thin scar on her wrist from when she broke a glass in college, was tangled with a man's on the curb. His hand was broad. His watch was a black square, Apple, latest gen. Her mouth was tilted toward his ear. His head was bent, laughing. The photo was slightly blurred, like the photographer had been moving. A second text followed. Ask her about Selwood. A third, she's had me on a hook for a year. If she cuts me loose, I cut her loose. The number didn't respond when I called. The return texts were blocked. My stomach flooded with ice and then heat. I put my head down on the desk and felt the grit of pencil dust against my forehead. I wish I could tell you I marched home and confronted her with old movie clarity. I wish I could tell you I printed the photo and slid it across the table like evidence in a courtroom, and that she collapsed in relief and confessed everything. What actually happened is boring and human. I sat in my car in the garage for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel. I took the photo out and zoomed in, and then zoomed in, and then zoomed out like the truth might arrange itself. I went inside, said hi to the kids, kissed Jessica on the crown of her head as she fixed a salad, and felt like I was shaking hands with a mannequin. That night, after the kids were in bed and the dishwasher was thrumming gently like a boat engine in the distance, I said, "How was Selwood?" I aimed for casual and hit husky. Jessica didn't look up from her phone. "Fine, long, boring, you know how those off-sites are." "Which house?" I asked. She looked up then, a quick flicker in her eyes like a bird's wing. "Why?" "Just curious," I lied. "The one with the black door, across from that bakery with the pistachio croissants," she said, a little too fast. "Why?" Just wondering." "Daniel," she said, setting her phone down, "is there a point?" I could have said yes. I could have said, "The point is, I'm drowning." Instead, I said, "We should maybe do a thing together, just us, a day trip. It's been a while." She softened. That, always, was my undoing. "Yeah," she said, and for a second she looked like the girl in our engagement photos who wore my jacket because she was cold and laughed because it swallowed her. I'd like that. We didn't do it, not then. Work, kids, weather. Parallel lines. I booked an appointment with a therapist. Her name is Dr. Kim, and she has the kind of voice that makes you think you've already been forgiven for something you haven't admitted to yet. "Bring her in when you're ready," she said after I stumbled through the part about the photo. "But I'd like to meet you first, just you. Give you space to say the unsayable." "What if I'm the one who made this?" I asked. By being boring?" She folded her hands. "Boring is an adjective people use when they mean safe. Safe is not a vice." The second glitch happened on a Wednesday at 12:08 a.m. The iPad in the kitchen flashed awake and, for a heartbeat, showed a calendar I didn't recognize. Dates titled Ritual, little padlocks next to them, and icons of little red hearts. Then it flicked to our shared calendar with dentist, Noah, and PTA, Ava, and the week's meal plan that said tacos, leftovers, sheep pan chicken, like a prayer. I stared at the blank glass. The reflection was my own face, pale and ghostly in kitchen night, light blue. The next morning, I took the kids to school and then drove not to the office, but to the boutique hotel by the river. The woman at the front desk looked like she'd seen every kind of man, and some he didn't know he was yet. I asked if a Jessica Foster had been there Saturday night. She blinked professional. "I can't share guest information," she said. I nodded like a man who understands boundaries. I stepped aside and texted the unknown number. "I don't know who you are, but if you want to send me the truth, send the room number. I don't need theater." 10 minutes later, the reply buzzed. 406. I stared at the 4 and 6 like they were meaningful numbers. Years married? No. Ages of our kids? No. Arbitrary integers. I went back to my car and sat with the knowledge like a hot stone in my mouth. That night, I put the kids to bed and sat at the dining table with a legal pad like I was preparing a case. I wrote categories: things I know, things I think I know, things I don't know. Under the first, photo, room 406, Selwood lie. Under the second, Coach Owen, boxing plus glitter, off-site O Hotel. Under the third, how long, why? I circled why until the paper got soft. I heard Jessica's footsteps before I saw her. She stood in the doorway wearing one of my old college t-shirts, the one with the frayed collar. For a second, my heart did the stupid habitual thing it always does, recognized her as home. "What are you doing?" she asked, soft. "I think we should talk," I said. My voice sounded like a floorboard about to give. She went very still, like deer in our friend's backyard when they hear a twig snap. Then she sat. "Okay," she said. "About what?" "About Selwood," I said. A pause. "About room 406. Her lips parted and then pressed together. Her eyes went glossy the way they do when she's furious and trying not to cry. "Who told you?" she asked, and the pronoun told me everything. There was a who. "A number," I said. "Photos. You can see your scar." "What number?" she said. "What photos?" "Daniel, show me." I slid the phone across. She didn't touch it, because she didn't need to, because she knew what was on it. She fixed her gaze on the legal pad instead. She read the headings. I watched her absorb the categories and decide which one she could live in. "Do you want me to lie?" she asked at last, meeting my eyes. "Or do you want me to tell you something you'll never unhear?" "I want the truth," I said, hating the way the word came out. Raw, hopeful, like I was asking for a job back. She nodded. She placed her hands on the table like a suspect, surrendering their wrists for cuffs. "It's not just Selwood," she said. "It's been a while." "How long is a while?" I asked, careful with the syllables in a way that felt ridiculous even as I did it. Her throat worked. "Years," she said. 6. The number hit me somewhere behind the sternum. It's not like the movies where you slap the table or throw a glass. I felt everything go bright and quiet. All the air in the room reorganized itself around the word 6. Ava had been 5, Noah 3. We had painted the living room that summer and fought over whether the color was wheat or oat. I had learned you can't say oat near Jessica without her making a joke about hipster lattes. I had made those jokes, and behind them, she'd been sending photos of herself to someone named Owen, maybe while the paint was still wet. "His name?" I said, not a question. She flinched. "Owen." "Coach?" I asked. She let out something that was almost a laugh. "Jesus. Bluetooth." "Not a demon, then." She shook her head. "Clay gym floor and somebody's old playlist. Not a demon." "Do you love him?" I asked. The question leaked out of my mouth like a fish that had decided it would rather flop on deck than drown under the boat. She stared at me long enough that I started to count seconds to avoid screaming. "No," she said. "Not like I love you," she swallowed. It's 10%. I exhaled in a half laugh because I recognized the marketing math. 10%, I repeated, like a tip. "Don't," she said quickly. "Don't make it cruel. I'm trying to tell you the truth the way you asked." "You've been telling him I love you," I said, seeing the texts in my mind even though I hadn't seen them with my eyes. "That's the tricky thing about imagination. Once you turn it on yourself, it becomes a weapon. In hotel rooms, on Saturdays, in Selwood." She closed her eyes. "It feels like a ritual," she said. "You say it because that's what you say at the end of something. It doesn't. Daniel, it doesn't take from what we have." I stared at the legal pad. "Under things I don't know," I wrote, "whether I'm made of anything but water." "He texted me," I said. "He threatened to tell me if you left him." Her composure cracked. "What?" She leaned forward, hands flat. "He texted you?" "Photos." The hotel. Son of a... She stopped herself, looked toward the hallway where the kids were asleep. He promised he wouldn't. She ground the heel of her hand against her forehead. He said he needed reassurance, and I told him. She laughed then, a single bark. It doesn't matter. It matters, but not like this. She looked at me. I'm sorry. I waited for that word to feel like a door opening. It didn't. It hovered above the table like a soap bubble and then popped soundlessly. We need help, I said. I can't do this by myself. I booked Dr. Kim. For me. She said she'd see us both. Jessica's eyes filled. When she cries, she doesn't blink a lot. The tears collect at the lower lid until they spill. Okay, she whispered. Okay. The first joint session with Dr. Kim was like sitting in a bright, clean room where you're not allowed to scratch. Dr. Kim asked us to tell the story of our marriage in 5 sentences each. My sentences were engineering sentences. I met her. We built a life. We had kids. We got tired. We got tired. I'm scared. Jessica's sentences were advertising sentences. We fell fast. We said we'd never be boring. The world got louder. I found a part of me I wasn't ready to bury. I found a part of me I wasn't ready to bury. I don't want to lose you. Dr. Kim nodded like both stories were true and also not all of the truth. What are you mourning, Jessica? Dr. Kim asked softly. Myself, Jessica said without looking at me. The version of me that didn't fold into dinner and homework and flu shots. The me that tried on other skins and felt alive. What are you mourning, Daniel? Dr. Kim asked. The thing I thought we were, I said, and the years I didn't know I was alone. Dr. Kim nodded again. Loyalty and novelty are both human hungers, she said, but secrecy is corrosion. I'm not here to tell either of you what you should want. I'm here to tell you that whatever you want has to be spoken where the other can hear it. After therapy in the parking lot, Jessica held my sleeve. You asked me if I love him, she said, eyes on the oil stain at our feet. I don't. I swear. He's a door I kept yanking open because I was afraid of closing anything forever. She looked up. I want to close it, for real. Then do it, I said, and my voice came out flat in a way that made us both flinch. She nodded. I will, tonight. That night she sat on the edge of the bed with her phone in her lap like a bomb. I lay on my back pretending to read while every cell in my body listened. I heard the tap-tap of typing, the silence of waiting, the sharp exhale when the 3 dots appeared, the sucked-in breath when they disappeared. Finally, she set the phone face down and turned to me. I told him it's over, she said. For good. Okay, I said. I wanted to ask to see, to verify like a manager signing off on inventory, but the person I want to be does not ask his wife to show him her breakup text with her lover in bed. Thank you. I'm sorry, she said again, and this time the word felt less like a bubble and more like a tiny stone placed reverently on a grave. You think that would be an ending, at least to a chapter. It wasn't. Owen did not leave our lives politely. He seeped through the walls like smoke. The next afternoon, while I was at lunch, unknown number sent a new photo. This time Jessica's face was sharp as a confession. She was in a dim room lit blue like an aquarium. Her hair was damp, her mouth pink and swollen. A man's hand, Owen's I assumed, was in her hair. The angle was tight, intimate, almost cinematic. If I had seen it a month earlier, I might have mistaken it for a still from a music video. The text said, "She says it's over. She said that before. You deserve to know what you're staying for." I stared at it until the screen dimmed. I typed, "Stop." Then, after a second, she ended it. "Do not contact me again." He wrote, "Tell her I'm not a dog she can whistle for. Tell her she doesn't get to call the shots forever. Then, ask her about ritual." Then, nothing. That night, I sat at the table and told Jessica about the texts. She went white. "He's stalking," she said, voice small. "He never took photos like that. I mean..." She swallowed. "Maybe he did. I don't know. He's never sent them to me. He's angry." He said, "Ask you about ritual," I said. She made a sound like something inside her had bitten down hard. "It's what he called it, the, after. It's a stupid word." "For saying, 'I love you,' out of habit," I said. "It wasn't a question." She pressed her fist to her eyes. "I am telling you I love you in a way that isn't a habit. I am telling you I will stop." I did stop. "Okay," I said, "because the man I want to be believes the person in front of him more than the man behind a blocked number. Okay." For a week, life pretended to normalize. I fixed the garage door. Jessica took the kids to Powell's and came home with a stack of paperbacks and 2 tote bags we didn't need. We went to another session with Dr. Kim, where Jessica said she felt like she had climbed out on a branch and it was still creaking. I said I felt like I was standing under the tree holding my breath. Then my phone buzzed at 6:42 a.m. on a Thursday while I was making pancakes. The sender wasn't unknown this time. The name said, Celine. The preview said, "You don't know me, but you should." I looked at the line of pancakes, at Ava's bare feet padding toward the table, at Noah's hair sticking up like a wheat field. I put the spatula down and stepped into the laundry room and closed the door. I opened the text. She introduced herself in 3 sentences that managed to convey both weariness and efficiency. She was 37. She lived in Selwood. She had been married to a man who had a habit of collecting extras, as she put it, and now she preferred to hand men back to the women they belonged to with a note pinned to their lapel that said, "Not housebroken." She had accidentally learned my number because Owen had used her to triangulate. "He is not well," she wrote. "I thought you should know. This is not about you or your wife anymore. It's about leverage and control. He's kept receipts." I texted back, "What kind of receipts?" She sent a screenshot of a folder in a cloud drive named JESS Red. Inside, dates, times, locations, short clips. A still of my wife in a black slip turning toward a window, the Portland skyline like fairy lights behind her. I could see the freckle on her shoulder, the scar on her wrist. I could see my life tacked up like a butterfly in a case. I didn't barf, I didn't throw my phone. I felt something else, an old part of me, the part that measures angles and calculates load, got very calm. I wrote, "Thank you." She wrote, "Don't thank me, just keep your kids out of the blast." At Dr. Kim's that afternoon, I told Jessica everything and handed her my phone. She scrolled, swallowed, scrolled, put the phone face down and stared at the ceiling. "I picked a man who collects women like coasters," she said softly, like she was taking dictation from a caved-in part of herself. "Because I didn't want to be coasters anymore." "What do you want to be?" Dr. Kim asked. "Honest," Jessica said. "I don't know what that looks like for me yet." She turned to me. "I don't know what that looks like for us." I took a breath like I was about to dive. "Neither do I said. "But I know this, I'm done pretending this is a wrinkle we can iron out in an afternoon. I'm done playing defense on a field I didn't agree to step onto." Dr. Kim nodded, slow and grave, like a conductor lowering a baton. "You are at the beginning of your real conversation," she said. "It will be both a map and a minefield. I need you both to understand that whatever you do next will have cost. Choosing has a bill." On the drive home, Jessica stared out the window. On 82nd, a man in a neon vest was pressure washing a sidewalk, the gray water sluicing toward the storm drain like somebody rinsing off the day. "I want to tell the truth," she said finally, "to our friends, to my parents, to myself." She looked at me, eyes wide. "To the kids, in age-appropriate language, no details." But not lies. My hands tightened on the wheel. "Okay," I said. "But Jess, there's something else." The word felt like gravel in my mouth. "Celine, different, Celine." She turned so fast her seatbelt locked. "What different, Celine?" I told her about the woman in the cafe, about the photo Owen had sent to me, about the one time I'd met her eyes across a coffee line and felt something like a window open. I told her I hadn't touched her, hadn't kissed her, hadn't done anything but recognize a hunger in myself that felt like a betrayal even without contact. I told her she'd ended it cleanly before anything started because she wasn't a bandage. Maybe I said it with more admiration than I intended. Jessica looked like she'd been slapped. "So I'm the only villain," she said, a bitter smile twisting her mouth. "I'm the only one who—" "No," I said. "I'm telling you this because I want you to know where every crack is. I'm telling you because I don't want to keep anything in the dark anymore. If you need me to be the bad guy with you to balance the math, fine. But I didn't do what you did, not because I'm better, because I didn't." She let out a breath. "I know," she said. "God, I hate that I know." We told the truth in concentric circles. We told Dr. Kim. We told 2 friends each. We told my sister. We told her parents. Her mother cried and then asked practical questions about holidays. Her father went out to the garage and hammered something to splinters. We told the kids. "Mom made a mistake and hurt Dad's feelings in a big way," I said. "We're figuring out how to fix it or how to move forward," Jessica said. "We both love you more than anything," we both said together, and Ava looked at us like she didn't believe us completely but wanted to. We did not tell the school. We did not tell our neighbors. We tried to keep the blast small. Owen did not. The folder started to travel. First, a burner Instagram DM to Jessica's work account, then a text to my phone during a staff meeting. One of the clips, muted, looping like a GIF, my wife's smile cut into slices by bad compression. I turned the phone face down and almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Civil engineers are not trained for this. The next day, a parent at the kids' school, a woman named Trish who runs the PTA like a small principality, forwarded Jessica an anonymous email from a concerned community member containing one of the stills and the line, "Be careful who you put on the hospitality committee." "Jesus Christ," Jessica said, reading it at the counter, her face drained. "He's going to salt the earth." "Then we move," I said, shockingly calm. "From Portland?" "From this story," I said, "one way or another." I wish I could tell you I knew then what that meant. I didn't. I just knew the parallel lines of our life had finally found a point at which they met, the end of the page. That night, after the kids fell asleep, the house felt like a museum after hours. We sat on the living room rug, the one we picked because it could handle juice, and spread out the artifacts, printouts of emails, screenshots of texts, a list of names to call in the morning. Our HR, her HR, Dr. Kim, a lawyer my coworker recommended. Jessica picked up a photo and then another, index finger resting on her scar, not flinching. It reminded me of how she used to do jigsaw puzzles, start with the corners, then find the edges, then fill in the middle. Except this time, the picture on the box was our life. "I keep thinking if I could just explain," she said, voice frayed. "If I could tell people it wasn't about love, that it was about this stupid 10%. "They won't care," I said, not unkindly. "To everyone else, it's all one word." "What word?" "Betrayal." She nodded, eyes shining. "The thing is," she said, "I betrayed myself too. I picked a man like Owen on purpose because he's appetite. Because if I picked someone kind, I'd have to face what I was doing. I'd have to choose for real." "Then choose," I said too quickly, because the part of me that builds bridges also wants to blow a whistle and start directing traffic. "Choose right now." She looked up at me so suddenly it made me blink. "I choose to tell the truth," she said. "All of it, even if it costs me." "It will," I said. "I know," she said, and for once I believed her. It was past midnight when my phone buzzed one more time. A final text from unknown, like the last firework that you think is a dud until it goes off. It contained a single sentence. "She's not the only one with a ritual. Ask her where she was the night Ava had the stomach bug." The date line beneath it made my own stomach twist. That was the night I slept on the floor of Ava's room with a bowl beside her bed and a damp washcloth in my hand. Jessica had said she was at an agency dinner at Andina. She'd come home tipsy, kissed Ava on the forehead lightly, said, "Poor bug," and drifted through the hallway like a ghost. I held the phone out. Jessica read the date. She didn't deny it. She closed her eyes, opened them, nodded once. "I'm so sorry," she said, and this time the stone of sorry hit the floor with a sound. The house was dead quiet. Through the window, I could see the streetlight painting the maple leaves the color of old brass. Somewhere, a siren, far away. We were a family in a photograph. 2 parents on a rug, kids asleep upstairs, a cat curled in a sunless square, except the edges of the photo were starting to burn. "I think," I said, my voice strange to my own ears, "we need to talk about separation." I didn't say divorce. The word felt like walking into a cold lake past the waist. I wasn't sure my heart could handle the shock just yet. Time apart. To stop tearing each other open while we figure out if there's anything left that isn't hollowed out. Jessica stared at me like she was memorizing my face to draw it later from memory. "Okay," she whispered, and a tear slid down as if gravity had remembered her. "Okay." I leaned back against the couch, felt the upholstery's familiar give, and realized I was shaking. Not rage, not grief. The shake of a man who has been on a scaffold too long and finally steps down, knees remembering how to hold him. Upstairs, Ava coughed in her sleep, a small human sound that sliced through all the theater. I stood, automatic, and started toward the stairs. Jessica stood too, and for a second, we both moved the same direction like we used to when the baby monitors would crackle. In that almost collision, I felt our whole marriage, 2 people moving toward the sound of need, sometimes together, sometimes not, sometimes stepping on each other's toes in the dark. At the foot of the stairs, she stopped and let me pass, her hand grazing the banister. "We'll tell them gently," she said. "We'll be kind." "Yes," I said, and it was the first promise that felt like it didn't need adjectives. Behind us, on the rug, the papers waited. On the wall, the iPad slept. In the garage, the opener would probably stutter in the morning. The maple leaves outside would go on being maple leaves. Maybe the bridge could hold one more day. Maybe not. I didn't know then about the emails that would surface, or the way the parent group would whisper, or the exact shape of the way Owen would try to turn our hurt into spectacle. I didn't know which friends would step forward and which would step back. I knew only that parallel lines had finally converged, not because geometry had betrayed me, but because the page had run out. I climbed the stairs and knelt by my daughter's bed and listened to her breathing until my own fell into the same rhythm. Downstairs, Jessica sat on the floor and, with a pen, crossed something off a list I couldn't see. In the morning, we would start making calls. Tonight, the house held. The morning after we decided to separate, the kitchen was filled with the familiar sounds of our routine. The coffee maker sputtering, the scraping of chairs, the clatter of plates. But it all felt staged, like a set built to trick the audience into thinking nothing had changed. Jessica poured her coffee, humming to herself, and I stood by the counter, spreading peanut butter on toast for the kids, my hands steady but my chest full of lead. It struck me that our family was still moving through the same motions, yet the story behind it had already split wide open. At work, I stared at blueprints, trying to lose myself in floodplain calculations, but the numbers swam. My phone buzzed. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Another unknown number. This time, it was a video. My thumb hesitated, and then I tapped. The screen filled with a hotel room. Dim light, Jessica's voice. She was laughing, breathless. The camera shook. Someone else was holding it. Owen's voice behind it, "Say it." Jessica's reply came fast, practiced. "I love you." The words I had built a life around, words I thought belonged to us, spoken like a rehearsed line in a cheap play. My stomach dropped. That wasn't 10%. That wasn't just sex. That wasn't just sex. That was intimacy I hadn't been given in years, intimacy she had been handing to him in private rooms. That night, I asked her, I couldn't keep it in. "How many times?" I said. My voice was quiet, but she heard the tremor underneath. She froze at the sink, the glass in her hand trembling. "How many times did you say it to him?" She didn't pretend not to understand. Her shoulders sagged and she whispered, "Too many." Then she turned, tears already brimming. "But it didn't mean with him what it means with you." I laughed. An ugly, cracked sound. "Then what does it mean with me, Jess? If you can throw it around like loose change, how am I supposed to believe it has any weight here?" She reached for me, but I stepped back. The kids were upstairs. I lowered my voice. "You've made me into a fool." She cried, but I walked outside into the car and sat gripping the steering wheel, replaying the video until the screen dimmed. For the first time in my life, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped the center out of me and left only a shell. It didn't stay private for long. A few days later, the betrayal went public. Screenshots of Jessica's messages started to appear in the school parent chat. Her words, her emojis, the little hearts. Ritual nights. I can't wait for 4:06 again. By the time Ava's teacher called me, the damage was irreversible. "Daniel," she said gently, "I think you should be aware of what's circulating." Shame hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just our family anymore. It was everyone. At dinner that night, Ava pushed her plate away. Her face was pale, eyes wet but furious. "Why are people saying Mom's a cheater?" Jessica froze, lips parted. Then the tears came. "Sweetheart, sometimes adults make mistakes." Ava slammed her fork down. "Mistakes? You lied to Dad for years!" She shot up from the table and stormed upstairs. Noah followed quietly, wide-eyed, confused. I sat across from Jessica, watching her tremble. She tried to speak. "Daniel, but I cut her off. Save it. The apology isn't for me anymore. It's for them." It only got worse. Owen, bitter or bored, decided to burn the world with him. He posted one of Jessica's photos from the club, a grainy shot, recognizable enough. It spread fast. Within days, clients pulled contracts at her agency. She came home carrying a cardboard box of her things, awards and notebooks and desk plants, stacked like a funeral bouquet. Her eyes were hollow. "I lost everything," she whispered. "My job, my friends, my parents won't even answer my calls. It's like I'd been erased." She sank onto the couch and sobbed. I didn't move to comfort her. All I thought was, this is what betrayal costs. This is the bill secrecy always sends. Divorce court was another theater. She tried to paint it as mutual drift, but Owen had collected everything. Photos, hotel invoices, texts, 6 years of evidence stacked like bricks. The judge didn't look kindly on patterns like that. Custody tilted in my favor. I got the house. Jessica walked away with a fraction of savings and the brand of an exposed liar. When we left the courthouse, she caught my arm. "Daniel," she begged, tears streaking her face, "I never stopped loving you. You were my anchor." Owen was just noise. Please believe that. I pulled my arm back, my voice calm. Love without loyalty is just decoration. It doesn't hold anything up. She crumpled right there on the courthouse steps, sobbing while I walked away into the cold air. Months passed. Jessica lives now in a small rental across town, a place I've only seen from the outside. The blinds are always half closed, the yard unkempt. I've heard whispers she still drifts back to Owen sometimes, like a moth that knows the flame will burn but returns anyway. Our kids visit her, but Ava's walls are up, her words short, clipped, guarded. Noah, still young enough to want answers, asked me one night, "Dad, does Mom still love us?" I hugged him and said, "She does, she always will. She just made choices that hurt." He nodded, but the doubt stayed in his eyes. As for me, I carry the scars. But there's lightness now where weight used to be. The mornings feel cleaner. I jog with the kids before school, teach Ava to scramble eggs, sit on the floor building Lego castles with Noah. It's not the life I thought I'd have, but it's a life that's honest. At night, when the house is finally quiet, I sometimes hear Jessica's voice in my head, the way she said, "I love you" in that video. But I remind myself, those words belong to me no longer. They were spent elsewhere, and they're worthless now. They were spent elsewhere, and they're worthless now. I think back to our last therapy session with Dr. Kim. She had asked me, "Daniel, what do you want now?" My answer was simple, peace. And now, slowly, I think I might be finding it. Not in forgiveness, not in reconciliation, but in the quiet truth of a life lived without lies. What I learned is this: betrayal doesn't just destroy trust, it destroys the meaning of words. And once the words are gone, all that's left is action. My actions now are simple: protect my kids, rebuild my life, refuse to carry her weight any longer. That's the ending of our story. She thought she could have both. Me at home, him in secret rooms. She thought she could eat the cake and keep it whole. But in the end, she lost it all. And I, the boring, steady man, walked out of the rubble with what mattered most, my children and the chance, finally, for peace. What do you think about this story? If you were in my place, would you have forgiven her after 6 years of betrayal, or would you have walked away the same as I did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Your support means a lot, and I'd love to hear what you would have done.